Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Tori and welcome to another episode of Blazers Pulse. Now, this episode of Blazers Pulse is going to be an off-season review edition. Now, about a week ago, I asked you guys some poll questions about the off-season that we had in 2019, and there was some pretty good responses, and I'll get into them. First, make sure to follow me on Twitter at ToryJonesYT and follow the channel on Twitter at BlazersUprise. I'm trying to tweet out more channel stuff on that channel Twitter page, so definitely make sure to stop the video right now and go follow us on Twitter and come right back here. Also, you can donate to me on Patreon. There's a link in the description below as well. And with that being said, let's jump into the poll questions from the past week. The first poll, I asked you guys to grade the off season, and the majority of you graded it a B. That's also what I would grade it because I do think it was a very successful offseason, but I would have left the A grade reserved for some sort of big move. If we went out and got Blake Griffin and Otto Porter Jr., that would be an A offseason. Now, we didn't really have the means to easily do that, so this may be a little bit too harsh, only giving it a B because I do think Neal Olshey had possibly his best offseason as a Blazer GM, but I do think a B is a pretty good grade. Poll number 2, I asked, what was the most important development this offseason outside of extending Lillard and McCollum? And it was pretty even between trading for Hassan Whiteside and re-signing Rodney Hood, and that didn't surprise me at all. I figured it was going to come down to those two guys, and I honestly answered re-signing Rodney Hood because I think he's a more long-term part of this team than Hassan Whiteside is, and I think he helps out our backcourt a lot by being a scorer at that small forward position to take the pressure off of Lillard and McCollum. We did re-sign him to that 2-year deal, but the second year's a player option. I expect him to decline that, but that should not be a problem because we will be able to re-sign him for up to $10 million next season, and we won't have to use any sort of mid-level exception to do so. We'll be able to use his early bird rights. So I do think that was a little bit more important than getting Hassan Whiteside, but that's not to downplay Whiteside's importance at all because he'll be important filling in for Nurkic. And then, once Nurkic comes back, Whiteside will be a very important trade piece. Poll number 3, I asked, which Blazer will you miss the most? And I gave the options Myers Leonard, Evan Turner, Enes Kanter, Seth Curry, and then other, Harkless, Aminu, and Layman. And I'm only allowed to put 5 options, so that made this poll tough because we had a lot of Blazers leave, but other was the most. I guess I shouldn't have put Evan Turner there because nobody was voting for him, but a lot of you guys said you were going to miss Jake Layman. That is why the other option won. Second was Myers Leonard, and that didn't surprise me at all. Myers Leonard, although he did have some fans that really couldn't stand some of the things he did on the basketball court, and especially off the basketball court, he still definitely had a little bit of a cult following here in Portland, so I wasn't surprised to see that at all. If you've paid attention, you probably already know who I'm going to miss the most, and that is honestly Jake Layman. I was very mad that we let him go. I wish we kept him in Portland, but we let him walk to Minnesota for free, and I think he's going to actually ball out next season for the Timberwolves. I do hope he does so, except for when he's playing against the Blazers. But honestly, it would be kind of nice to see him stick it to his old team and drop 20-30 points in a game that the Blazers still somehow win. Poll number 4, I said, did your perception of Neal Olshey change after this offseason? And my answer would have been slightly more positive. He still needs to make a splash though, and that is what the majority of you guys said. There was nobody whose opinions became more negative for Neal Olshey, and that's pretty much what I expected. He's had some really bad off seasons in the past, especially 2016, but this offseason, like I said before, was probably his best one as a Portland Trail Blazer general manager. Now, my opinion of him didn't become much more positive because I still think he needs to make that big splash. Once he goes and gets a guy like Blake Griffin or Otto Porter Jr., my opinion of him will actually be much better than it was a couple years ago. And then the last poll question we had was channel based, and I said, would you guys be interested in some general NBA content that's not necessarily Blazers focused? Things like standings predictions, tier lists, mock drafts, award predictions, award rankings, power rankings, etc. I'd still focus heavily on the Blazers. Now, 84% of you said you wouldn't mind having general NBA content, only 16% of you said that you wouldn't be interested in that, 60% of you said that you want some general NBA content. The prevailing choice was the option of yes, yes, just make sure to give us enough Blazer coverage, and I will definitely make sure to do so. This is a Blazers channel first and foremost, and I'll keep it coming steadily with that Blazers coverage. It would just be fun to put out some mock drafts, to put out some award rankings, and things like that. So I definitely plan on doing that, so stay tuned. Anyway, that wraps up this episode of Blazers Pulse. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And with that, I'm out of here. This has been Tori. Hope you guys have a great week ahead. Peace out. Go Blazers.